Good morning, everyone. This is August the 7th, it's the 8th, 2013, and we are continuing with our Esoteric Astrology adventures, and we are with Esoteric Astrology number 157A, page 665, and we are in the appendix of the Esoteric Astrology book, about 30 pages from the conclusion of this book. We are dealing with the moon and everything that HPB has said about it. Rather dramatic terms she used in the beginning. A cold residual quantity, the shadow dragging after the new body, which is our planetary globe. Constantly vampirized by her child, she revenges herself on it by soaking it through and through with the nefarious, invisible, and poisonous influence which emanates from the occult side of her nature. The particles of her decaying corpse are full of active and destructive life, although the body which they had formed is soulless and lifeless. The higher principles have been removed, and only the life of matter remains. From cosmic fire, then, we have the moon is dead and cannot support life, because humanity and the building devas have been removed from its sphere of influence. They have been, well, the building devas anyway. I think that's an important word. There has to be lower elemental life still there. Let's say that lower life still remains. And there was a transfer under the insistence of the Solar Logos to inner spaces, and when the time came, the life was transferred to our particular chain. Maybe different places on that chain, we don't know, but certainly to our globe there was a much transfer. And upon our planet now, and within our planetary scheme, our planetary chain, rather, two methods of development are being pursued. The one that was incomplete on the moon chain, and the one that was slated to be developed here within our Earth chain. So the higher principles really are gone, and humanity is the macrocosm of the lesser kingdoms. And when the macrocosm is removed, the lesser kingdoms also are removed. I suppose there is some residual mineral life, but it's all in a state of decay. And as we're told, by the time we reach the 7th round, it will have completely vanished. The moon is in the process of disappearance, and only a decaying body. It's amazing that we so much reverence the romantic effect of the moon. And only a decaying body is left. The life of the second logos and the first logos have been withdrawn, and only the latent life of matter itself remains. And remember, in cosmic fire, we dealt with latent heat, and not the active etheric heat, or the active etheric life. To what extent the etheric vehicle remains, probably not. But there is a negative effect due to the decaying of the lowest of the unprincipled aspects. All that remains is really the life which is inherited from the previous solar system. Nothing alive or principled. There are no principles on the moon or in relation to the moon. We might wonder what happened to the inner globes. That is not given to understand, I think. But The well, in a way, the entire moon chain has disappeared. Now we have in its place the Saturn chain. Is this some second attempt by the same Lord, or is it a new emanation from our planetary logos, and is the moon chain Lord in a way cooperating now with the Lord of the Earth chain to bring the incompleted process of the many lives that were focused there to some kind of completion in a new environment? So that is a question, really. Who is the Lord of the Saturn chain, and where is the chain Lord of the moon chain now? And there is much to suggest that two streams of development are going on simultaneously on our Earth, and this might suggest that the moon chain Lord has transferred his focus to the Earth chain. That cannot be confirmed. The moon and Saturn certainly are closely related astrological factors. If you look at Saturn carefully, you will see that it is in a way the cross above the moon. The moon is in a way contained within the glyph of Saturn. So now we have the Saturn chain. He really doesn't say much about it. The moon chain was in the third position. Now the Saturn chain is, and the third aspect of divinity is the issue. And how to bring that aspect of divinity in line with the program of the second solar system, which the chain Lord of our fourth chain follows with greater ease, I think, than did the moon chain Lord. The moon was a place of systemic failure, and notice, not just planetary failure. This is important. Not just planetary failure, but the whole system was retarded as a result of the failure of our planetary logos through one of his emanations, the moon chain Lord. Of course, this is all interior occult knowledge, and there is no confirmation of the focus of that emanation of the planetary logos. It cannot have disappeared. It was the planetary logos in some sort of extension. So whether that which was the moon chain Lord is now supervising the Saturn chain, or whether a different emanation of the planetary logos is involved with that, or whether the moon chain Lord has been transferred in its focus to the Earth chain, which means that the planetary logos is sending forth two emanative streams to work within the Earth chain and upon the Earth globe. All of that has to remain uncertain. The moon is connected with the lower principles. It is still considered a non-sacred planet. It related, I suppose, to prana, ether, kama, and lower manas. And even now it stands for all the moon today stands for all aspects of the personality. So does Mars. And you kind of wonder about the fourth ray planet that the moon veils, whether it too, via the number 4, stands for all aspects of the personality. The four elementals, the number 4 of the moon, and of its veiled planet, can correlate with the 4 elementals of the personality. The source of the sexual misery experienced on our planet. Oh, this is probably a very deep statement, but there is There is a sacral center identification, and the moon as the mother of the form is definitely connected with the sacral center, and in a way with the number 6 of the sacral center. So moon as mother of the form, there is nothing there, and there should be. Mother of the form, do that. Okay. As the mother of the form is allied with the now fading sacral center. It is an ancient and physically material center, or a center related to materiality, also of course to mentality, the home of the mental elemental, but it has a definite physical connection and produces physical vehicles. There is, I suppose, via the moon, the misuse of the sexual energy, which has its consequences, and all of the abuse of sexual energy and the rituals of black magic traced from the moon. When you think of, I don't know how to spell this exactly, but Sodom and Gomorrah, I'm not sure how that should be spelled. There it is. One thinks of sort of a lunar legacy. It is the glamorous and also degenerate use of this energy, which, who knows, may have even occurred on the moon before before the great transference, before the solar logos intervened. It was there's much in humanity today, much concerning human sexuality, which is degenerate and not recognized as such. And I think this is the lunar inheritance. It has to do, all has to do with ego, lower ego, and attachment to form. So I suppose there is a great thought form, he says, a vampiristic thought form, a great vampiristic thought form, which hovers over humanity and drains away its vitality, serves no good purpose, and is connected especially with sex and its misunderstanding. Seems we have deviated far from original intent, and so the waning of the lunar influence can be nothing but good, and the moon in the chart can be an open door to evil in our charts, can be an open door to evil if we do not utilize the planets which the moon veils, and instead enter into what I would call lunar retrogression. There are probably details about this. HPB talked about the necessity for humanity to bear its children in pain, and this may not have been required. That obviously is a very deep issue because it has to do with the structure of the human body, and it probably goes back millions and millions of years. But the clear, well, we could call it in Christian terms, the sin against the Holy Spirit is lunar in nature. And the misuse of the creative energy is the worst. But of course, people are infatuated by various glamours, and man and his desires has become the measure of all things in kind of a perverted humanism, which we don't even detect because we don't know anything about the law against which to measure our actions. We just have the old biblical laws which so many think are illusory and non-applicable to them and passé. So we don't realize it when we're breaking the law. But when Saturn co-joins with the moon, it's a big opportunity, and we can realize what the law is and how the ancient inclinations, deviations are in fact a real digression from perversion of the law. We really need, I don't want to sound like a religious fundamentalist here, but whatever God means to us, we need to get that presence back into our lives and His laws back into our lives, without all of the unpleasant kind of enforcement of the religious police of whatever religion, kind of a Mars-Saturn-Pluto combination. But we need to understand about our destiny and how our merit determines our destiny, and how merit is accumulated through observation of the law and conformity to the law, and also through the expression of love for the whole. And as he said, love and sex are in two very different categories. So we have to be very careful. The sacral center will be active until 2/3 of humanity are on the path, and we're a long way from that. So this energy will be with us, and how we handle it as an aspect of life should be a matter of esoteric education, so that the young people know what they're getting into. Whether they'll believe it or not, who knows, but that's where the ageless wisdom comes into the picture. The necessity to give real consideration to the ageless wisdom. The moon, arrested in its evolution by the timely interference of the solar logos. The solar logos, of course, is working through his chakras, and I suspect there was a close relation between his sacral chakra and the moon and the earth, possibly in that function. As I've said, I think there are multiple functions of various planets in relation to solar logoic chakras. Some people will think I'm crazy in saying that, but we do see how different planets are assigned to different chakras, and they all have their part to play. So the solar logos did interfere and transfer, I guess, Uranus, the human and Deva lives into inner spaces, denuding the moon of its sustaining life. I have once in our time, in 1917, the solar logos almost interfered again in the Second World War. What would it have been? Perhaps an epidemic or something to bring that to an end, but it was not, turns out, necessary. Well, we have a lot to overcome. the moon is seen as somewhat the size of the sun at the present time when viewed from Earth. This will be corrected. The apparent size of the moon correlates with its effect upon Earth. As it diminishes in size relative no. Well, RLV, maybe that. No. Well, let's RLV, RLV, relative. I would like that one. REL. I use it so much. Sorry for the delay. Relative to the sun. At least, well, both really and symbolically, visually, its nefarious influence will decrease. At one time, I think it must have looked very large indeed. At one time, it must have looked larger to the sun than the sun. Now we have the balance. Now we have the balance in size. And earlier, the moon probably appeared larger. So we have to offset this influence. It's a serious matter. It's an occult matter. It's not realized by humanity. They have an entirely different view of the moon. We have to find a way to solarize our lives and to work with the planets which are veiled by the moon: Vulcan, physical; Neptune, emotional; Uranus, mental; and even another triangle, Vulcan, Venus, and Mercury. As Mercury is the lower octave of Uranus and Venus is the lower octave of Neptune, we have to bring Venus, the love and light of the soul, into the astral vehicle. We have to strengthen the physical vehicle via Vulcan. We have to illumine the mind via Mercury. These are the things which we must accomplish. The origin of the feud between the forces of light and of darkness can be traced back to the moon. Well, you know, this is interesting because the members of the Black Lodge okay, I'm going to say I'll do it this way. Black Lodge, BLG, okay. Of the Black Lodge were initiates in the previous solar system. Did they also inhabit the moon? Sometimes to me it seems as if there was a direct transfer of life from the previous solar system into our chain directly and into Lemuria without having to pass through experience on the moon chain. But of course there's a numerical correlation in the moon chain, and the same problems in miniature exist on the moon chain as existed in the previous solar system. So if such members of the Black Lodge were present on the moon, they would have wanted to repeat the same way of life as in the previous solar system when they were initiates. Even now this is the case. In a place maybe that is even less hospitable to them than the moon would have been, because we are the fourth chain and the moon was the third, and the previous solar system, although it was the fourth, largely entertained the third aspect of divinity. So it was a very material, intellectual kind of solar system, and they are characterized by that. I think so many of them third-ray monads and first-ray souls. The DKA sometimes did say the first-ray soul tends to be the case with the members of the Black Lodge. We know on the moon chain that there were a number of first and second ray souls. Third ray souls probably were the most numerous. But then again, the monads have to be considered. A great majority of third ray monads, and some second and some first. But when we're looking for the egos that came from the moon chain, I think there is, what are we told, 12.5% on the first ray, 12.5% roughly on the second ray, and 75% on the third ray. And the transference was not made until the third subrace of the Atlantean root race. So those who came into Lemuria, by and large, were Earth chain humanity or those from the previous solar system. And the remaining question is, I mean, it seems that the Buddha was of the previous solar system and fulfilled a great spiritual development on the moon chain, even achieving up to the third initiation, almost that, even though that initiation could not be given on the moon chain. So here was an example of a great soul in which the seeds of the previous solar system were fulfilled. Does that mean he was actually a part of that previous solar system? We don't know for sure, but it sounds like it from certain references. And then he was transferred to the moon chain and then to the earth chain. Was this also true of Black Lodge members? And what would have been the... would they have, on the moon chain, would the members of the Black Lodge... on the moon chain have promoted the chaos which we now recognize as what we call lunacy or madness? There was some kind of disorganization of forces there which resulted in a perversion of all psychological relationships and transfers to our present globe and chain as madness, lunacy. So all of that has to be taken care of, straightened out, and brought into line. And Saturn, of course, is the perfect planet to do that, and also the moon, which gives us the solar possibility. Kind of interesting, on page 666, we take up Neptune. Well, it's such a sixth-ray planet in a sense, the ray sixth soul of Neptune. So we have references in both Secret Doctrine and Cosmic Fire. Neptune does not really belong to our system. This is an amazing statement in spite of its apparent connection with the sun. The connection is imaginary, but I want to say the rays are right. So much sixth and second ray, with our solar logos being an astral Buddhic logos. Even if Neptune does not, quote, belong, he certainly serves. Interesting that he is one of the children of Saturn, just like Jupiter is, so he's made his way into mythology as being part of the lineage of the gods. Neptune is the place where the solar flames are stored, therefore very connected with the heart of the sun. I mean, in other words, let's say there is a strong function for Neptune, regardless of his origin. Now, my friend Nicholas feels that Neptune should be connected with the star Fomolo, which is really not all that brilliant a star. I don't know. We went over the solar luminosities, and Fomolo is, I think, has no more than 10 solar luminosities. But it seems to be a star connected with the solar plexus. We don't know necessarily the exact accuracy of the 6 solar systems which join with ours in making the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. But Neptune, interestingly, has a great function in sponsoring the astral body, the astral entity, who is our astral plane, Varuna. Maybe the astral plane as it relates to the Earth. Neptune is related to the planetary astral plane, the systemic astral plane, a big function, and even the cosmic astral plane, which would compose the astral, of which energy, the astral bodies of the various planetary logoi would be composed. So, is Neptune a visitor? Was Neptune somehow, is Neptune on a sacrificial mission? Is this god on a sacrificial mission? You know, the self-effacement which Pisces Neptune can bring. Is a Neptune here as a redeemer? I wonder, when we think about the Christ, we're told that Christ is Neptune. This is symbolic. He is the first initiator. Christ, Neptune, and the first and second initiations. The Christ very much belongs to our system. Is this about Neptune's origin in another solar system? Somehow was some kind of evolution completed in another system. Our system, our solar system, is probably referenced here. Does Neptune belong to an earlier incarnation of our solar logos, i.e. to another system? Or does he simply not belong to our ongoing system of planets, regardless of the incarnation of our solar logos? He's had 5 now. Some people say this is the second solar system, but remember it's the second major solar system and the 5th Mahamanvantara. Well, we'll have to let that go. These are thoughts about what this may mean. Neptune is definitely one of the synthesizing planets and may be a very important synthesizer in respect to this second ray solar system, as the monadic ray of Neptune is the second, and that is confirmed on page 420 of Esoteric Psychology, Volume 1. Esoteric ray means monadic ray. It is hidden from sight, whereas the soul ray, even now, is in most cases revealed. Obviously, we people involved in esotericism have long pondered over this idea that Neptune does not really belong to our system. And, let's see, I'll say it like this. Functionally, at this time, he very much is part of our solar systemic process. And does not look like he's going away anytime soon. So maybe, just trying to summarize this thought, maybe Neptune is let's call it divine intervention, just as Venus intervened in our planetary process, sponsoring the solar angels, or at least involved in that transmission from the sun to our Earth. Venus was involved in that triangle. Let's say the heart of the sun, Venus, and our planetary logos, and especially in our chain and globe. Fascinating, really, and mystifying. Maybe that's the right word for Neptune, don't you think? The planet of mysticism. Mystifying statement. All right. Let's see. Mystifying idea. Among the secret orbs of star angels, Neptune was not included. Well, secret orbs or star angels, I think a planetary logos is a star angel or an archangel on the planetary level. And I think in contrast here we have that Uranus was included as a secret star angel. This was the mystery planet, but Neptune was not. So there's going to be some really profound occultism here having to do with the relationship of this entity, perhaps in greater connection with a different entity, and our sun. So what I suspect that we will have is, I suspect we will have a triangle of our solar logos, Neptune, and X, with which Neptune is more related than to our solar logos, or with which than to our solar logos. Okay. Neptune is the god of reasoning. Now, you know, as Mercury, who is really a god of reasoning, falls in Neptune's one of Neptune's major sign, Pisces, it is not conventional reasoning. And I've often said perhaps HPB means the God of pure reason, or Buddhi. Now Neptune does hold the trident, and the trident signals the number 3, which is related to the reasoning mind. But usually Neptune has the effect to blur the sharp outlines of the logical reasoning process. When Neptunian people come in, they are accused of being illogical, which may mean that they are either totally glamored or maybe intuitive. So I would connect Neptune with the reasoning of the what's called transcendental mind, or Buddhi. Conventional logical reasoning is very much under Saturn and Mercury, where you have to make sure of every step is proceeding in clarity. One thing is different from another. There is a kind of distinctness, and let's just say the blurring effect of Neptune goes against standard logical reasoning. The Neptunian people are more the artistic, intuitive types or the religious types, and they sometimes have to get their lower reasoning straight because they are sometimes illogical or supralogical. Neptunian people are often illogical, or, well, I could use the word super, but if I say supra, it means above, supralogical, i.e. intuitive. So Neptune does have some connection with straight knowledge of transcendental things. You need subtlety to go beyond the obvious, and Neptune gives a penetrative subtlety to the consciousness. Neptune confers a penetrative subtlety to the consciousness, and is involved in the coordination of the Buddhic vehicle, we know. Sirius influences our entire solar system psychically via the three synthesizing schemes, Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn. So it seems to suggest that Sirius has a synthesizing effect. And there is another planet there, unnamed and undiscovered, and some people call it Isis, even though that is a name also given to Sirius. So there's a line of descent: Sirius, Isis, and then the three synthesizing planets, or schemes. So it's the psyche is the consciousness which is influenced via these three. So it is the consciousness within our solar system which is influenced by these three. Okay. There is a peculiar group of beings connected with a certain constellation, and the lesser dragon, who have their habitat on Neptune and work with the sixth principle in the solar system. So this is Kama, I suppose. Kama, or desire, aspiration, or if we reverse this, this is work with Buddhi, because so often Buddhi is called the sixth principle. It depends on which way we're counting, but generally the seventh principle is Atma. We're not given the constellation, and I guess we have to, it's not the greater dragon. It's the lesser dragon. I don't know if it's the constellation Hydra. Let's see if there is anything here on the lesser dragon. What I think is that this will require some research, which I cannot give at the moment. Sometimes Saturn is considered to be a kind of lesser dragon associated with the green dragon. We have greater dragons and lesser dragons. The masters of wisdom are considered to be lesser dragons, but they are somewhat sponsored from Draco, we might say, in relation to our Earth. And the Little Dipper has to do also with the dragon's wings, but does not seem to be undertaking the role of a lesser dragon. I guess what we'd have to look for is sources in our system or in the celestial sphere which correspond to the number 6, and are somehow known for their devotion. See, I'm thinking about the sixth principle, and I'm wondering about the heart idea and Buddhi. I'm thinking also about Orion Betelgeuse, related to the sixth principle. Orion, Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, related to the sixth principle. But this is a little impenetrable to me at the moment. We have, we have various sea monsters. There's no problem there. We have Cetus, the sea monster, in Aries, and we have Hydra, or Hydrus, a very long constellation related to Leo. We have a serpent in Scorpio, but there's no immediate telling which one is here meant. So, like as in a number of other instances, we'll have to defer this for some penetration, or perhaps some strong inquiring soul in later days coming upon this will be able to crack this code that is here given. Anyway, Buddhi, through Neptune, is related to the love wisdom principle and to the monadic ray of Neptune, which is the second. And I'm thinking about the close relation of Orion both to the solar plexus and to the heart, and the Buddhic principle that is found there, for which Betelgeuse is a symbol, being a great star of the second order. It's the second aspect of divinity that works through the sixth principle. And whether the little bear is involved, I don't know. Saturn is sometimes related to the idea of a dragon. And there is a green dragon found in the path of Earth's service. So, a certain constellation and the lesser dragon, and these beings have their habitat on Neptune. Well, you know, I do wonder whether Draco is involved here, because it is such a source of Buddhic energy. Draco is such a strong source. Of course, that's the great dragon, a Buddhic energy. We have Leo and Leo minor, but we don't have dragon and dragon minor. We have those kinds of figures in the zodiac, but they all have quite a relatively evil reputation. So we might be talking about a constellation with the lesser dragon, and maybe not. We might simply be talking about a planet. Could be, you know, Draco, Saturn, and Neptune. But Saturn seems unlikely when dealing with the sixth principle, yet it has the dragon association. Well, there are a few ideas which could be enlarged and somehow coalesced. The law of sacrifice and death, in a mysterious way, the reverse of the first law, that of vibration, it is Vulcan and Neptune in opposition, which is as yet almost incomprehensible, an almost incomprehensible thing to us. I guess I want to reinforce that idea of Saturn and the dragon. He certainly would be a lesser dragon than Draco, far lesser, but he's sometimes associated with the root of things, with the base of the spine. And here we have the idea, in Egypt the Great Bear was the constellation called the Mother of Revolutions, and the dragon with 7 heads was assigned to Saturn, who was called the Dragon of Life. And then a little later, I think it's the same thing, Saturn was called the Dragon of Life. We go back to that idea that Saturn rules the devotional faculties, which seems an odd statement. But in any case, we do have in Saturn a kind of lesser dragon. And we would be looking for a constellation. It could be a connection between Draco, Saturn, and Neptune. I will just propose. Okay. Propose a thought. The constellation of Draco, Saturn, the lesser dragon, and Neptune. And I'm having a memory of Saturn being related to the path of Earth service in which the dragon features so prominently. Let's just see. Maybe. The power of Saturn in the sign. Okay. The soul chooses the path of Earth service with all its consequent sacrifices and pains. Let's just see Saturn and path, Earth. And if we leave Earth out of it, we'll see whether we come into anything that reminds us of this. Maybe not. I just know that Saturn is definitely connected with sacrifice, the kind of sacrifice. Saturn connected with the kind of sacrifice required on the path of Earth service, staying at one's post as Kumara has done. Well, we'll look this up under the path of Earth service, and we'll see what particular, if there is a particular planet that's involved here. Let's take a look here. The path, Earth service, path of Earth service, and maybe I'll just try to do it that way. Okay, the path of Earth service, and sometimes there is a description given of the associated factors in the path of Earth service, but not yet, I'm afraid. Let's see, path 1, Earth service. That might be one way to do it. Path 1. Okay. Path 1. No. Earth service. Let's see if this is one of them. I'm looking for the cosmic fire reference. Here it is. Attributes, wise, compassion, the constellation of the dragon via Libra. Wise compassion. This is interesting. Hierarchy, the 6th. Okay, perhaps from below, a green dragon issuing from the center of a blazing sun. Behind the sun and overtopping it can be seen 2 pillars. Quality gained, luminosity. I'm going to put this in here because I think it is suggestive. Maybe I'll do this and get rid of that. Okay. And, you know, we may be dealing with the hierarchical ruler of Libra, which is Saturn. So there is a connection between the constellation of the dragon and Saturn, and of course the wise compassion. We can also blend that with Neptune. It's the 6th hierarchy involved, and I suppose 6 from below. If we count from above, we will be having the divine flames as the 6th. So perhaps counting from below is correct. And also, yeah, a green dragon. See, the green is interesting because it is the color of Saturn. So this is meant to back up just a little bit the idea that we may be dealing with Draco, Saturn, and Saturn as the lesser dragon, and then also Neptune and that group of beings. Sorry that took so long to try to track that down, at least track it down a little bit. There's still much to be done. The law of sacrifice and death, in a mysterious way, the reverse of the law of vibration, the first law, that of vibration, and let's say under Vulcan. It is Vulcan and Neptune in opposition, which is as yet an almost incomprehensible thing to us. Now, Neptune sometimes is said to rule the base of spine center and thus to be associated with the seventh ray and seventh law. And here I had that in this other statement. Here it is. The Sun, Uranus, Neptune, the base of spine. So we have physical Sun, Saturn, and Neptune both related to the base of the spine. The heart, Mercury, Uranus, heart of the Sun, and that goes pretty well with the threefold triangle of the intimate constellations who descend in 5 steps, and that we discussed quite strongly. The head center is sometimes called the central spiritual sun, related to the monadic nature, I suppose, of our solar logos, and Sirius is involved in that, giving us the central spiritual sun in this case would be the Pleiades, then Sirius, and then the sun. They all relate to the head. So perhaps in the 7 solar systems of which ours is one, Sirius plays quite a prominent part. It is the directing center. But I guess what I'm looking at here especially is this Saturn and Neptune. So we do have Neptune in relation to the base of the spine in Esoteric Astrology, page 301, EA 301. And we know that Neptune is a planet of death. In a way, it rules the hierarchy, which is the 8th or the 5th, and which has a redemptive attitude towards the entire cosmic physical plane. And Neptune is also the planet of sacrifice. So Vulcan is at the lead, and Vulcan rules the head center, as we see for disciples, page 517, and Neptune here associated with the base of spine center. So there is a relinquishment which occurs. We'd have to study more this law of sacrifice and death, but it is, after all, the 7th law related to the 7th ray, to the 7th center, and in a way to the lowest of 7 planes. It's interesting that what Vulcan originates in terms of vibration, which creates form. Let's put it like this, that Vulcan creates form, and Neptune dissolves it in pralaya and death as a final step. He says it's an almost incomprehensible thing to us, but we can see form and formlessness. And here, form is Vulcan and Taurus. Formlessness and disintegration is Pisces, or let's just say Neptune and Pisces. And yet there is a great desire for incarnation for redemptive purposes, to put it like this. Neptune gives a great desire for incarnation, for redemptive purposes. And that's why this hierarchy, the fifth hierarchy, veiling the Christ, is so important in the redemptive process on the cosmic physical plane. Now, one interesting thing to notice, although Neptune is associated with the cosmic astral plane, presently its creative hierarchy has not escaped from the logoic systemic logoic plane, which means that Vulcan, related to the first plane and to the law of vibration, is working on the same plane in this context as Neptune is, within the sea of fire. Well, these are thoughts, and I suggest that we try to take them further if we can. Just want to show you an interesting thing here under the law of sacrifice and death, and how it can be linked with Neptune. The law of sacrifice is the law of death in the subtle bodies, whilst what we call death is the analogous thing in the physical body. This law governs the gradual disintegration of concrete forms and their sacrifice to the evolving life, and is closely linked with the manifestation of the seventh ray. So I think we see the Neptunian link here with the seventh ray. This is the place from which the statement was taken. This ray is one that largely controls and manipulates, that geometrizes, and that holds sway over the form side. The physical plane is the most concrete exemplification of the form side. In a mysterious way, this law is the reverse of the first of the law of vibration, which in a way creates form, does it not? It is Vulcan and Neptune in opposition. So I think we're hitting on what we need to know. The densest form of expression on the physical plane is, after all, but a form of synthesis, just as the rarest form of expression on the highest plane is but unity or synthesis of a finer kind. So one is related to Vulcan, the dense form, and the unity or synthesis of a finer kind to Neptune. One is synthesis of matter, that's Vulcan, the other is synthesis of life, and that's Neptune. So, we get into trouble when we simply look at the excision and we try to understand out of context what it may mean. Okay, friends, I think we've reached the point here where we can say that this is the end of Esoteric Astrology 157A, page 666, and we'll begin beginning of Esoteric Astrology number 157B, page 666.